On the morning of November 22, 2025, Scott Bessent, one of Wall Street's most influential hedge fund managers, sat in his glass-walled office scanning the latest market reports. Suddenly, his phone rang, a call that would change everything. The voice on the other end was urgent, almost breathless, delivering news that would soon ripple across continents and time zones. Within minutes, the news began to spread, sending shockwaves through the global economy. Traders on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange froze, their eyes glued to screens as red numbers flashed and breaking news tickers scrolled ominously. Phones rang off the hook in financial centers from London to Hong Kong, as uncertainty gripped the markets. The cause? The landmark US-China trade deal, an agreement exchanging American soybeans for China's rare earth minerals, was teetering on the brink of collapse. Months of delicate negotiations, countless late-night meetings, and high-stakes diplomacy now hung by a thread. The world watched as the fate of billions of dollars in trade and the livelihoods of millions suddenly became uncertain. This wasn't just a minor setback. It was a seismic event that threatened to unravel the fragile peace painstakingly built between the world's two largest economies. Diplomats scrambled to salvage the agreement, but trust was eroding fast. The handshake that once symbolized hope now seemed to be slipping away, replaced by suspicion and blame. The deal, once celebrated as a historic diplomatic breakthrough, now looked more like a fleeting ceasefire in a much larger conflict. Headlines around the world questioned whether this fragile truce could survive, or if it was destined to become just another failed attempt at cooperation. For investors, farmers, and manufacturers on both sides of the Pacific, the stakes couldn't have been higher. American farmers, who had finally found relief in renewed Chinese demand for their crops, now faced the specter of renewed tariffs and plummeting prices. Factory workers and manufacturers braced for supply chain chaos, while investors watched their portfolios swing wildly with every new headline. As panic spread through boardrooms and trading floors, one question echoed everywhere. If this carefully crafted agreement could unravel so quickly, what hope was there for lasting stability in the global economy? The uncertainty was palpable, and the sense of vulnerability was shared by everyone from CEOs to small business owners. The phone call that started it all had ended, but its impact was only beginning to be felt. As night fell over the world's financial capitals, a new crisis was unfolding, one that would test the resilience of markets, governments, and ordinary people alike. Rare earth minerals and soybeans, two commodities that, at first glance, seem to have little in common. One is dug from the earth, a collection of obscure elements with names like neodymium and dysprosium, essential for everything from smartphones to fighter jets. The other is grown in vast fields, a humble bean that feeds millions of animals, and, by extension, people. Yet, despite their differences, these two resources are deeply intertwined in the complex web of US-China trade relations. Both rare earths and soybeans have become symbols of economic power and vulnerability, central to the ongoing negotiations and tensions between the world's two largest economies. China has established itself as the undisputed leader in rare earth processing, controlling over 80% of the global supply. This dominance gives China enormous leverage, as American technology companies and defense contractors rely heavily on these minerals to manufacture everything from electric vehicles to advanced missile systems. Meanwhile, the United States is the world's top producer of soybeans, with sprawling farms across the Midwest. These soybeans are a lifeline for China's livestock industry, providing the protein-rich feed needed to sustain its growing demand for pork, poultry, and other meats. For years, the trade arrangement seemed straightforward. American soybeans flowed east, Chinese rare earths flowed west. On paper, it was a mutually beneficial exchange, a classic example of global interdependence. But beneath the surface, mistrust simmered. Both sides understood the strategic importance of what they were trading, and each knew that their leverage could be used as a bargaining chip in broader disputes. For the United States, the heavy reliance on Chinese rare earths represents a significant strategic risk. Any disruption in supply could cripple key industries, from consumer electronics to national defense. For China, American soybeans are not just a commodity, they are a cornerstone of food security, essential for feeding its vast population and maintaining social stability. This uneasy interdependence made the relationship volatile. Any hint of trade restrictions or tariffs sent shockwaves through markets, leaving both sides wary and on edge. When the trade deal collapsed, the consequences were immediate and far reaching. Factories faced shortages, farms saw their exports dry up, and workers on both continents worried about their futures. The fate of rare earths and soybeans became a powerful reminder of how deeply the US and China are connected, and how fragile that connection can be. The crisis didn't appear overnight. It was the result of escalating tit-for-tat moves. In September 2025, the US tightened semiconductor exports to China, aiming to curb its tech ambitions. China retaliated with rare earth export restrictions, shaking global supply chains. World's two giants seemed locked in a dangerous standoff. A tense summit in South Korea produced a fragile truce. The US would ease chip restrictions, China would buy record US soybeans, and pause its rare earth ban. The agreement offered hope, but it was built on shaky ground. Massive soybean purchases were promised, but trust was thin. Now, that fragile peace was unraveling. China's grip on rare earths is its economic ace. These minerals, though obscure to most, are the backbone of modern technology, powering everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to advanced military hardware. Over the past 2 decades, China has quietly built a near monopoly, controlling more than 80% of global rare earth production and refining capacity. This dominance didn't happen by accident. It's the result of strategic investments, government support, and a willingness to bear the environmental costs that other nations have shunned. When Beijing threatened export controls, it sent a clear message: disrupt our tech, and we'll disrupt your supply chains. The world watched as China flexed its muscles, reminding everyone that the flow of these critical minerals could be turned off at a moment's notice. For global manufacturers, this was a wake-up call. The security of entire industries could hinge on a single political decision in Beijing. The US and its allies scrambled to diversify, launching new mining projects and investing in alternative processing facilities. But building a rare earth supply chain from scratch is a massive undertaking. It requires not just mining, but also complex chemical processing, skilled labor, and years of regulatory approvals. Even with billions in investment, progress is slow and fraught with technical and environmental challenges. For now, there's no real alternative to Chinese rare earths. Factories around the world remain dependent on shipments from China, and any disruption could send shockwaves through the global economy. The supply chain is fragile, and the stakes are high. The temporary truce between the US and China offered a brief reprieve, allowing industries to breathe a little easier. But beneath the surface, the threat remains ever present. Negotiations are tense, and trust is in short supply. If the deal collapses, China could cut off exports overnight, crippling American tech and defense industries. The consequences would ripple outward, halting production lines, shuttering factories, and leaving companies scrambling for alternatives that simply don't exist at scale. The US is investing in new sources, from reopening old mines to funding research into recycling rare earths from electronic waste. But these efforts are years away from making a real impact, and the learning curve is steep. The rare earth squeeze exposes a deep vulnerability at the heart of the global economy. It's a stark reminder that technological progress is built on fragile foundations, and that supply chains can be weaponized in an instant. The power to disrupt global industry gives China a strong hand at the negotiating table, one that it's not afraid to play. As the world races to secure its own supplies, the rare earth squeeze is far from over. In November 2025, American ports loaded record soybean shipments bound for China. On paper, it was a win for US farmers and a sign that China was honoring its promises. But in the Midwest, skepticism ran deep. Farmers remembered past deals that fizzled, leaving them with unsold crops and broken trust. Analysts noted that Chinese companies were buying US soybeans only under government orders. Brazilian beans were cheaper. The purchases were political, not economic, and could stop at any moment. Farmers wanted long-term, reliable demand, not short-term gestures. The promised 12 million tons for 2025 seemed unlikely. Until market forces, not politics, drive Chinese buying, American farmers remain wary. Hope was tempered by hard-earned doubt. While the US and China sparred, Brazil quietly became the world's top soybean supplier. Brazil now accounts for 40% of global production and over 70% of China's imports. Favorable currency, vast farmland, and efficient double cropping have made Brazil a powerhouse. Brazilian soybeans are cheaper and more reliable, outcompeting US farmers. Even if US-China tensions eased, America wouldn't automatically reclaim its top spot. The US now faces a formidable, low-cost rival. Politically mandated Chinese purchases are a lifeline, but not a long-term solution. In the global market, price is king, and Brazil wears the crown. Trade wars aren't just headlines, they hit real people. In Iowa, farmers gamble millions on crops, only to see demand vanish with a political dispute. Years of low prices and uncertainty have pushed many to the brink. In China, higher soybean costs mean pricier pork and chicken, squeezing family budgets. Rare earth disruptions threaten jobs in US factories, from electric vehicles to electronics. A decision in Beijing can ripple to a paycheck in Detroit. The economic conflict is personal, disrupting lives and livelihoods across continents. The stakes are global, but the pain is local. On the front lines, hope and skepticism coexist. Farmers want to believe in China's purchase commitments, but past disappointments linger. Experts urge the US to diversify its export markets, looking to Southeast Asia for growth. Even government officials now admit relying on China is risky. The US is working to open new markets and reduce trade barriers elsewhere. In tech, leaders acknowledge that total US-China decoupling is unrealistic. Collaboration persists, despite rivalry. Business and academic ties remain strong, offering a glimmer of resilience. The lesson, interdependence, is both a strength and a vulnerability. The future depends on learning from the past. November 22, 2025, the US-China deal teeters on the edge. Will back-channel diplomacy save it, or will both sides double down on confrontation? The logic for cooperation is clear. China needs food, the US needs minerals. A revised deal could restore stability. But mistrust runs deep. If talks fail, expect new export controls, tariffs, and a fractured global economy. The most likely outcome? A slow, painful drift toward managed competition, with both sides seeking new partners and building self-reliance. The choices made now will shape the global order for decades. The world waits to see which path the giants will choose.